After the esports tournament, a new female member joined my husband's team. Oh, here we go again. At the after-party, this so-called one of the guys' girl clung to him relentlessly, forcing drinks on him and refusing to let him leave. What's the point of women anyway? Tonight we drink until we can't stand. Brothers only. No one goes home. Listening to women is pathetic. Daddy's talking here. You spoil them and they forget their place. Pick me. Choose me. One of the brothers, my ass. When those words reached my ears, I pushed open the private room door with a hurt expression. Why are you still here, honey? I've been worried sick. That night, I stepped onto her battlefield and dismantled her image piece by piece. Trying to compete with me using cheap tricks, she clearly underestimated her opponent. It was close to midnight and Jason still had not come home. After seeing his message, I drove straight to the hotel, my face cold and composed. The moment I opened the door, laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. The room fell silent for a brief second as several players stared at me in confusion. The woman seated in the center didn't even turn around. She lifted her glass confidently. What are you waiting for? Drink. Tonight we don't leave sober. Who dares refuse Daddy's toast? This was supposed to be a team celebration, yet she was wearing a revealing strapless gown. Her pale skin and exaggerated curves stood out sharply among the muscular men surrounding her. This had to be Zoe, the only woman ever recruited into Headwind since the team was founded. After finishing her drink, she smiled lazily and leaned toward Jason as if she had lost her balance. Jason immediately stepped aside. Zoe ended up falling into the arms of the team captain, Feng. Feng looked pleased as he caught her. When Zoe noticed me approaching, her smile faltered. A flash of envy crossed her eyes. I raised a brow inwardly. My instincts had been spot on. No wonder Jason had messaged me for help, saying she kept pushing alcohol on him and deliberately crossing boundaries. Did she really think no one here knew who excelled at emotional warfare? So, in front of everyone, I softened my expression and wrapped my arms around Jason. It's so late. I was really worried about you. Jason had been tall and athletic since high school. Even after switching to esports, he never stopped training. His cold demeanor had earned him countless admirers. I had shamelessly fallen for him because of his body back then and chased him until we married within a year. Now, caught off guard by my sudden affection, his body stiffened before he awkwardly returned the hug. His ears flushed faintly. I forced a few tears to well up. I'm fine, he said helplessly. Don't worry. I'll go home with you right now. The stoic man melted instantly, drawing laughter from the room. No wonder they say marriage changes people. Look how much sister-in-law missed him. So this is Jason's wife? She really is beautiful. What a loving couple. Cheers to a long and happy life. Everyone joked warmly, celebrating our relationship. Everyone except Zoe, leaning against Feng. She stared at me with a dark expression. Jason held my hand, clearly embarrassed but unwilling to let go. When he felt how cold my palm was, he frowned in concern and prepared to leave with me. That was when Zoe suddenly stumbled forward, deliberately pressing her chest toward his arm. We train, eat, and live together every day. Now your wife shows up and you want to leave? Are you disrespecting Daddy? She was clearly drunk and acting without restraint. Most people dismissed it as alcohol-induced behavior. Jason did not. He dodged instinctively and glanced at me with worry. Zoe lifted her glass mockingly. Oh, the kid's grown up and stopped listening. Your brothers treat you so well, yet you won't even drink one glass. Then she turned toward me, smiling with false friendliness. It's a celebration, sister-in-law. Don't be so controlling. Men are born free. If you hold them too tightly, they rebel. In other words, I was the unreasonable one. The others watched with amusement. Even Feng nodded along, encouraged by the atmosphere. Zoe swayed forward again, glass raised, chest pushed out. Come drink, my good son. Don't be petty like a woman. Just as she was about to collide with him, I pulled Jason aside. Zoe, unable to stop herself, stumbled and nearly fell. I tilted my head and said softly to Jason, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Why didn't you move sooner? You're so big and clumsy." What if you hurt Zoe? She is a girl, after all. Jason's face flushed. He frowned and snapped, "That's not my problem. She did it on purpose." From the corner of my eye, I caught Zoe's murderous glare. I smiled innocently. "What do you mean? If she threw herself at you intentionally, what does that make her?" "I don't care what it makes her," Jason replied bluntly. "I'm married. I only care about you. Anyone else trying is wasting their time." Zoe's expression completely collapsed. The surrounding players exchanged uneasy looks. As if just noticing Zoe sprawled awkwardly against the sofa, I spoke up timidly, "Someone should help her fix her clothes and stand up. If pictures get leaked online, it could easily turn into cyberbullying. That kind of thing is terrifying." After speaking, I hid slightly behind Jason. Only then did everyone realize how exposed Zoe looked, leaning against a married man, half her chest visible. If photos surfaced now, the consequences would be severe. The team had just reached the top 8 in the Asian region. Their biggest rivals were already watching closely. A scandal at this moment would be disastrous. For the first time, criticism turned toward Zoe. Even Feng scolded her sternly. "Our team is still building its reputation. Public image matters. Get up and look at how you're dressed. Calling yourself a brother doesn't make you one." Good thing sister-in-law noticed. Otherwise, we would have been dragged online again. The room grew awkward. One by one, people came to apologize to me, asking me not to take a drunk person seriously. Zoe glared at me, then suddenly smiled and raised a glass toward me. "I'm sorry, sister-in-law. I've spent too much time around men and forgot my boundaries. I didn't mean to offend you. Jason and I are just teammates. We train together so often that I lost my sense of propriety. This one's on me." She drank it all in one go. The others nodded approvingly, clearly impressed by her good attitude. I sneered inwardly. Her words painted me as insecure while emphasizing her closeness to my husband. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed her, too. When I stayed silent, people stepped in to smooth things over. "She's just joking like she always does. Yeah, she treats everyone like brothers." I lifted my head, tears brimming, my eyes visibly red. "So you all think I'm petty and controlling? I didn't even do anything. If you don't like me, I'll leave." I pulled a small bottle from my bag. "I brought the stomach medicine you asked for. I didn't expect this kind of situation." I tossed the medicine to Jason and ran out into the corridor lights. Tears slid down my face. I looked fragile and heartbroken. Jason panicked and chased after me. Before leaving, he threw one last sentence behind him. "If anyone speaks badly about my wife again, don't blame me for cutting ties." The room fell silent. Then the complaints started. "Why did you interfere? You crossed a line. You dressed like that and leaned on a married man. She didn't even scold you, yet you still pushed her." Zoe had always been indulged because of her skills and her gender. Tonight, that privilege shattered. At the corner of the hallway, I glanced back. Zoe's face was completely dark. I smiled faintly. This was only the opening move. Next time she tried anything, I would make sure she never recovered. The moment we got home, before I could even speak, Jason collapsed onto me with a wronged expression. He buried his head against my shoulder, rubbing softly like a huge dog that had been bullied outside and finally run back to its owner for comfort. "I swear I have zero interest in Zoe," he muttered. "In my heart, you come first. Otherwise, why would I message you to rescue me?" I understood what he meant. In that private room, everything I did had been deliberate, aimed at an audience. Still, the image of Zoe pressing herself against him made irritation rise again. "How am I supposed to know what happens during training?" I said quietly. "You're gone for 2 whole months, eating and practicing around her every day." As I spoke, the grievance turned real. My eyes stung, faintly red. Spending that much time together, who could say feelings would never change? Jason panicked when he saw my expression. "That's all her nonsense," he rushed to explain. "She stays in Feng's suite. The rest of us live in the dorms. We don't live together at all. I swear my moral integrity is intact. I avoid her every time we're outside." He knelt on the bed and raised 3 fingers solemnly. Because of his posture, he leaned forward slightly, his chest muscles outlined clearly. I looked up at him, heat creeping onto my face. Really? He met my gaze. The air shifted, becoming uncomfortably warm. His breathing slowed, deeper. He took my hand and pulled it closer, his voice low. I saved everything for you. If you don't believe me, you can check. I know what you like. We've been apart for so long. Didn't you miss me? His tone sounded pitiful yet dangerously persuasive. Against my better judgment, I found myself responding to him. That night was chaotic. When I woke the next morning, embarrassment washed over me. Off the bed, Jason was obedient and harmless. On it, he turned into something else entirely, especially after being restrained for 2 months. In the end, I was exhausted to the point of tears, swearing repeatedly that I believed him before he finally stopped. A notification sounded? Jason's phone vibrated. "Wifey, check it for me," he said lazily, already half asleep again. I picked it up. The message was from Zoe. She had sent a photo from her morning workout, her face flushed and damp with sweat. She wore a white t-shirt, soaked through, clinging to her body in all the wrong ways. The curves beneath were impossible to ignore. The caption read, "Up already? Daddy's been exercising since dawn. Did sister-in-law drain you last night? Told you women are troublesome. Life's more fun with daddy. Come out and play. Waiting at the arcade." This girl really had no sense of limits. Anger flared instantly. I jabbed Jason awake and shoved the phone at him. "Look. You're daddy again." Jason rubbed his face irritably. He did not dare snap at me, so his frustration went straight to Zoe. He took a screenshot and sent it directly to the team chat, photo included, tagging both Zoe and Feng. First, my wife didn't exhaust me at all. Second, I stayed quiet before for the sake of the team. But what exactly are you trying to do by repeating this behavior? Third, Captain, are you planning to handle this or not? How many times has this been? The group chat went silent. After a long pause, Zoe finally replied. "Haha, my bad. I spoke carelessly. I was running and suddenly thought of last night, so I joked without thinking. Don't take it seriously." Jason replied immediately. "I do take it seriously. Zoe, do you know this kind of behavior crosses the line? If not for headwind, I wouldn't hold back at all." After that, Zoe stopped responding. A while later, Feng spoke up. "Zoe is young, just turned 20. She's always been around men, so her boundaries can be a bit loose. It's understandable. I'll talk to her properly. This won't happen again." It sounded like criticism, yet every word shielded her. I stared at Zoe's avatar, curiosity growing. What exactly made this girl worth such protection? The following day, I went with Jason to watch the group stage match. They were facing a Korean team and the entire event was live-streamed. The venue was packed. By the time we arrived, every seat was filled. The opposing fans shouted wildly, but our side answered with even louder cheers. The atmosphere was infectious. Even I felt adrenaline surge, itching to jump in myself. Jason had been competing for 6 years. His skill was already top tier. With Zoe added, the team became even more aggressive, almost overwhelming their opponents. As annoying as she was, Zoe did have talent. She moved through blind spots with precision, striking unexpectedly. Within half an hour, she had already secured 2 eliminations. Everything felt almost too smooth. Still, their performance remained steady. Headwind won decisively. The venue erupted. Jason never makes mistakes. Zoe is insane. Her aim is godlike. Headwind relies on you too, Jason. Skills and looks both flawless. Thunderous applause filled the space. The other members were barely mentioned. Zoe waved enthusiastically to the front row, drawing another wave of screams. Her swagger and in-game dominance had earned her plenty of admirers in record time. Jason spotted me immediately. Ignoring the fans, he walked straight over. People who knew us started making teasing noises. I noticed Feng lagging behind the others. Despite the congratulations, his expression was oddly dark. Jason reached me in a few long strides. "Why did you come?" I smiled. "It's rare you play at home. I wanted to see Headwind's most handsome brother, Jason." "People are watching," he said softly, embarrassed. "Wait for me. We still need to confirm the score." He waved and turned away, ears faintly red, cold on the outside, heated underneath. He headed to the waiting area, Zoe following closely. She approached me with a smile that looked harmless to outsiders. "Sister-in-law came too? This is a man's game. Do you even understand it? Didn't Jason and I work perfectly together? On the battlefield, we're a match made in heaven." I blinked, feigning confusion. How could two men be a match made in heaven? My husband isn't into men. You are. Zoe's expression froze, her smile barely holding together. Feng raised his hand toward her, signaling her to go on stage and receive the award. Zoe shot me a sharp look before instantly switching expressions and walking up with a bright smile. I had no idea what Feng was thinking, arranging her right beside Jason while they waited for the final scores. I stood off to the side with my arms crossed, watching to see what kind of stunt this girl would try next. Zoe lifted her chin proudly, then deliberately edged closer to Jason, casually draping her arm over him like a close buddy. Jason glanced at her arm, his face tightening with clear disgust, and shook her off without hesitation. Some fans caught the movement and immediately started whispering, curious about their relationship. Zoe laughed lightly and jumped in to explain. "We're close brothers. If we weren't comfortable, Jason wouldn't treat me like this. Go ahead, ask him if he'd ever act this way with Tang Fei." She still managed to drag my name into it. I watched her smug expression calmly, contempt rising quietly in my chest. We were both women. How could I not see through these childish tricks? Every sentence grouped her with Jason, subtly suggesting that my bond with him was weaker than hers. If I reacted angrily, outsiders would only see a jealous, narrow-minded wife. After all, Zoe had always branded herself as careless. Anything she said could easily be excused as thoughtless rather than deliberate. So instead, I smiled gently and turned to Jason. But Al Wang once said he wouldn't even bear to pull a single strand of his beloved's hair. Only outsiders get treated roughly. Jason immediately smiled at me indulgently. My wife is absolutely right. The scene made the audience burst into laughter. So the cold-faced heartthrob is actually completely devoted to his wife. The contrast is hilarious. Sister-in-law is impressive. She really knows how to handle him. Of course Jason treats his wife best. She's a dancer, too, elegant and beautiful. Zoe's face flushed with anger, but cameras were everywhere. She had no choice but to swallow it down and keep smiling. Seeing her barely holding it together, I covered my mouth and laughed openly. Once the scores were announced, Jason turned and walked off without hesitation. Feng, having witnessed the exchange, stared at Jason's back, then glanced at Zoe, his expression darkening further. The fans were too busy celebrating Headwind's victory to focus on this small incident. When Jason reached me, his face was still tense. Zoe's repeated provocations had clearly worn thin. Just as the host announced the end of the event and Jason took my hand to leave, a small girl suddenly ran over. "Brother Jason," she said timidly. "Sister Zoe said her stomach hurts because her period started. She wants you to go see her. She's waiting in the lounge." I nearly laughed out loud. As expected, this girl never failed to surprise me. It seemed she had learned from being publicly exposed before. Instead of messaging directly, she sent a clueless child as a messenger. Clever, but only on the surface. Jason's face turned pitch black. Is she out of her mind? If she's sick, she should see a doctor. Why is she calling me? He was about to storm off toward Zoe. That was exactly what she wanted. So, I stopped him and quietly placed an express order for sanitary pads and painkillers. Then, with deliberate concern, I spoke up loudly. Let's go check on her. What if she really faints in there? Hearing this, the other team members began to worry as well. Zoe had just contributed to a major win and was still seen as a valued teammate. No one wanted an accident on their conscience, so a whole group headed toward the lounge. To avoid awkwardness, I asked the little girl to go in first and check how Zoe was doing, whether she needed medicine immediately. Seeing only the child enter, Zoe's impatience was obvious. "I told you to get Jason. Why are you asking all this nonsense?" The child replied innocently, "There are so many brothers outside. Can any of them help?" "You wouldn't understand," Zoe snapped. "I only want Jason. Tell him my period hurts badly and he has to come, and don't let the woman beside him know. Tell him secretly." At that moment, the expressions of the people outside changed. What was Zoe implying? Did she really have feelings for Jason? Had her repeated closeness been intentional all along? Seeing the growing suspicion, Feng cleared his throat and pushed the door open. "I told you to look for Jason if something happens, but that doesn't mean you rely on him for everything. His wife is right here. How does this look?" Jason looked at Feng, the senior who had brought him into the scene, his gaze deep and unreadable. Zoe leaned weakly against the sofa, her face pale. When she saw so many people, panic flashed across her features. She forced an explanation, eyes darting. "I'm usually careless." I suddenly felt uncomfortable and remembered what the captain said. I didn't think it through. "Sister-in-law, please don't take it the wrong way." She adapted quickly. Unfortunately for her, her opponent was me. When I lifted my head, my eyes were already rimmed red. "Even so," I asked softly, "why did sister need to contact Jason behind my back? People might misunderstand and think something inappropriate is going on." Jason immediately pulled me into his arms, speaking anxiously. "What inappropriate thing? Don't think like that. She's irrelevant to me." Zoe watched him hold me, envy flickering briefly before she lowered her head with practiced guilt. "I wanted to find sister-in-law, but after last time, I was afraid I'd upset you again. I didn't want you to misunderstand." Even now, she still managed to paint me as unreasonable. I leaned into Jason, looking hurt. "I never held a grudge. I didn't realize sister was so sensitive. I was just worried about you." I deliberately emphasized the word sister. Zoe's face drained of color. She opened her mouth, then froze. Just moments ago, she had been insisting she was no different from a man, claiming masculinity when it suited her and playing the victim when cornered. Shameless and inconsistent. The team members hurried to smooth things over. No one wanted open conflict among teammates. "Zoe, it's because sister-in-law is generous that this ended peacefully. Be clearer next time. Jason is married, after all. She even ordered medicine for you. Apologize properly and let this go." Zoe looked wronged as the criticism piled up. Feng stepped in instinctively. "That's enough. She really didn't mean anything bad. In my opinion, both sides should calm down. Go back and rest. Everyone returns to the training base tomorrow. I have something to announce." With the captain's words, the group finally dispersed. Before we left, Zoe dashed over, her voice coated in exaggerated sweetness. "Sister-in-law, really, I'm sorry. Next time I'll apologize properly. I know I usually play around with brother Jason, acting all pure and one of the guys, and I don't always think things through. Please forgive me." The constant sister-in-law had my skin crawling. Anyone who didn't know the full story would probably be furious at her ambiguous words. Then, with a light laugh, she hurried after the others. I glanced at Feng's dark expression earlier and turned to Jason. Feng personally recommended Zoe to join the team. Jason's eyes were calm, thoughtful. "Yes. And our teamwork is surprisingly smooth. She picked up everyone's playstyle within a few days, so the whole team likes her." I paused, recalling her precise movements in the match earlier. Suddenly, the subtle inconsistencies in her gameplay clicked. Her reflexes were lightning fast. Only a top-tier professional could move like that. Even seasoned players can't perfectly predict every opponent's action because esports is fluid, always changing. Yet Zoe anticipated every ambush, striking in spots before the enemy even arrived. How was this possible? Unless she already knew their movements in advance. "What's wrong?" Jason's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I leaned my head against his shoulder, sighing softly. "Nothing. Just noticing something interesting." Zoe clearly had a significant background. That night, I called the private investigator and had him check Zoe's identity, everything. The next morning, I went with Jason to the training base. The space was filled with sports gear, boxing rings, gym equipment, and all kinds of training tools. No one else had arrived yet. Zoe was already sparring aggressively. "Good morning, sister-in-law," she called out cheerfully. "You can look around. This is what we usually use to train agility." She swung her boxing gloves, sending up a small cloud of dust that made me cough uncontrollably. I don't like girly stuff. I only enjoy competitive, high-energy training. Sister-in-law probably prefers your art to our sweaty routines. Again with the "I'm basically a guy" act. I scolded her inwardly, but maintained a frightened expression, hiding behind Jason. Zoe's grin widened at the sight, clearly enjoying herself, and she beckoned Jason to spar. "Brother Jason, you dare fight Daddy? Don't hide like a girl on stage. Real men fight seriously." Jason's face darkened. He ignored her. Good. Brother Jason accepts the challenge." Zoe cheered. "I want to see if Zoe can actually beat you. Come on. Make sure she submits this time." Just overnight, she had already started calling the team members brothers again. She was skilled. That much was clear. The crowd's excitement grew. Zoe's confidence infected the others below who cheered along. Jason remained caught in the middle, refusing to engage. Finally, I hesitated and raised my hand. "Can I go up instead of Jason?" "You better not." Zoe's lips curled into a mocking smile, scanning my seemingly delicate frame. "Boxing takes both strength and strategy. Sister-in-law, if you step up, I might break your arm." Her words were deliberately provocative, and she laughed loudly. The audience below chuckled, too. I bit my lip, hiding a thrill. "Should I try?" Zoe smirked, puffing her chest out. "Fine. But don't complain if I dominate. If you win, I'll roll on the floor and call you Daddy." The stakes made the crowd roar. Jason didn't stop me this time. Calmly, he handed me the gloves. Then he leaned in and whispered, "Wife, beat her." I climbed the stage, pretending to be hesitant, though my pulse raced. This pick-me girl had been a constant irritation. Few knew that, besides dancing, I was a certified level 2 boxing athlete. Zoe had just challenged a steel wall. As soon as the match started, she boasted, "Sister-in-law, if I accidentally hit you, forgive me. We'd play seriously." The team below nodded in agreement, acknowledging the rules of competition. I responded with a timid nod. 3 minutes in. Bang. My fist connected with Zoe's head, sending her sprawling. The crowd went silent. Zoe struggled to her feet, glaring at me like I had poisoned her. Before she could recover. Bang. This time, my punch landed squarely on her abdomen, folding her over again. Bang. Bang. Over and over, I drove her to the ground. The members below watched in astonishment as I continued, rendering Zoe beaten black and blue. They looked as if they were seeing a ghost. Jason, however, remained calm, his lips twitching in amusement occasionally. At that moment, Captain Feng stepped in, raising a hand to stop the match. "There's an important announcement," he said. Only then did Zoe clamber off the stage, sulking and resentful. After careful consideration of Zoe's recent performance, Feng announced, "I've decided to promote her to vice captain. When I'm not around, you will follow her instructions fully." The room went quiet. Many of the players exchanged worried glances. In both experience and skill, Jason himself had seemed the obvious choice. Suddenly, Zoe's promotion left them bewildered. Zoe, still sporting bruises from our earlier match, stood with an unreadable expression. The corners of her mouth twitched, and her usual confidence seemed to falter. Feng, following the player's gaze, asked, "Do you have any objections, Jason?" Jason's reply was steady. "No, Captain." "Good. Let's welcome Headwind's new vice-captain with applause." Zoe rose gracefully, giving off the calm, composed aura she always maintained. But when her eyes swept past me, a flicker of mischief shone through. "I'm looking forward to the finals against Japan in 2 weeks. From today onward, I'll be practicing with each of you. Let's see who I start with." Her gaze lingered on Jason, and she smiled smugly. Just then, I hesitated for a moment, then raised my hand. Zoe's expression hardened, a trace of annoyance flashing. What is it? Outsiders shouldn't disrupt our meeting. A soft voice carried across the training floor. Captain Zoe, about that bet you mentioned. Does it still count? Zoe's confident composure faltered, panic briefly showing in her eyes. The players nearby chuckled quietly, remembering her earlier boast about rolling on the floor and calling me daddy, something everyone had seen her lose the right to avoid. It's okay. No need to force it, I said sweetly. Zoe's face drained of color, stuck mid-step on stage. She stammered out a few words before fleeing, carefully avoiding any mention of Jason. Zoe's new role did little to enhance her reputation within the team. Among the players, she was quietly ridiculed rather than respected. Meanwhile, online fans were impressed by her promotion. With skills like hers, vice captain is well earned. Jason is just as skilled, he's the heart of the team too. Zoe and Jason together, Headwind's jade pair. Captain Feng might not be the strongest, but he's fair and doesn't crave power. Comments praising Feng's integrity soon dominated the thread, which made me smile knowingly. The private detective had uncovered some interesting details over the past few days. Zoe had no verifiable identity records. The ID and experience she provided belonged to someone who died 3 years ago, someone who only partially resembled her. Jason confirmed that Feng had recruited Zoe 2 years prior. So, was Feng aware of her mysterious background? And why push her to vice captain? The situation was getting more tangled by the day. The upcoming championship between China and Japan was already a high-stakes affair. The prize money alone was astronomical, and national pride fueled the intensity. After the teams were set, fans from both countries debated endlessly online. Japan's team is unbeatable. They'll take it. No way. Headwind has proven themselves. China will win. I love Headwind's subtle strategy. Go team. Every player poured themselves fully into practice. For professional esports athletes, careers are short. This could be their only shot at glory. Everything went according to plan until a week before the finals. Feng fell ill with a sudden high fever and couldn't compete. A substitute was prepared, but their skills were only average. Fans sympathized and largely blamed the situation on fate rather than Feng. All eyes turned to Zoe. Fans expected her to step up, lead the team, and secure a victory. Her influence and prestige skyrocketed. Her follower count jumped by hundreds of thousands almost overnight. The training intensified. Jason practiced relentlessly, driven by the dream of winning for the team and for himself. Finally, the live event arrived. The venue was packed, a sea of flags and cheering fans supporting Headwind on their home turf. Nearly all ticket holders had come to witness the match in person. During strategy discussions in the lounge, Zoe suddenly called Jason aside through the wireless earpiece. I heard his voice, tense and impatient. What is it? Zoe's tone was sharp, almost manipulative. Jason, promise me you'll stay with me, or I'll forfeit. What? You're insane. I mean it. If you don't agree, I'll give up the match. Your esports dreams will crumble and you'll be blamed for it. Jason's anger flared. Zoe, you have no right to do this. You're neither fit to be captain nor a professional player if you think like that. Their argument ended unresolved. I raised an eyebrow, perplexed by her audacity. She could seize fame and authority with a victory, yet she risked everything by making such reckless demands. Remembering the private detective's findings, a vague suspicion crept into my mind. Minutes before the championship began, a crisis struck Headwind. Zoe, the team's vice captain and strategic linchpin, had vanished. She had forfeited without notice. 5 minutes to start, no one could reach her. Panic rippled through the team. Zoe and Jason were billed as the ultimate duo. Without her, the team's chances plummeted. The live broadcast chat exploded with speculation. What's happening? Did Zoe just bail? Maybe she's sick. It seems too sudden. Japan is famous for dirty tricks. Could they be involved? The referee warned. If Headwind cannot field a complete team within 1 minute, your qualification will be cancelled. Jason's face darkened. The team looked to him as their backbone. "Just pull a substitute," he said. "I've been competing for years. I won't give up. I'm with you. We've come this far. All those years of practice, no way we stop here." Amid the tension, faint sobs could be heard. Then I raised my hand. "And me," I said. Headwind's final member, Tang Fei, entering the field. All eyes turned as I joined Jason. "Don't worry. I've played esports longer than Jason. If he can't win, I will," I whispered, "just like last night in the boxing ring. Let's knock them down this time, for our esports dream." The team's spirits lifted. Even without me, their determination had been there, now it had a focal point. Sweating in my chair, I slipped on the headset. Jason patted my hand, a silent reassurance. The match began. Every move, camping, ambushing, aiming, shooting, was executed with precision. Cold sweat gathered on my brow. Jason's small nods of approval spurred me on. After an exhausting battle, the scoreboard flashed. 3-2. Headwind wins. Relief washed over me. My fingers cramped, but the team's dream had been realized. The arena erupted. Headwind is amazing. Tang Fei is insane. Tang Fei. Tang Fei. Amid the cheers, Jason's gaze found mine, full of affection, making the world around us fade. Just then, police officers entered the venue, heading straight for the lounge. Zoe was escorted out, her face twisted in indignation. "I forfeited because I felt pressured. This isn't illegal. The fans weren't buying it. She looks fine. She forfeited on purpose. Why risk everyone's dream like this?" I stepped forward. "Of course. That's because she isn't who she says she is." Silence fell. Even the players froze. I handed the police the evidence I had gathered. The Zoe standing here isn't the person she claimed to be. The original died 3 years ago. Her body was never found. Zoe's face drained of color. Live comments exploded. "Wait, so she's a ghost? Why would someone so skilled run away? Could she be a spy?" Jason whispered beside me, "You knew." "Yes," I said. "I hired a detective after her last game. Her records were fake from the start." I sneered. "Feng told you to forfeit, didn't he? Are you a Japanese spy?" Zoe trembled. "I'm not a spy. I transmigrated from a book." Pandemonium broke out. The live stream cut abruptly. Zoe was taken in for investigation. It turned out this world had a novel-like structure. Zoe, obsessed with Jason's character, had transmigrated into it, taking over the identity of Zoe to pursue him. Her timing was off. Jason was already married. To manipulate the outcome, she had joined the esports team and learned every strategic move. Today, she had tried to coerce him, using his esports dreams as leverage. Feng, jealous of Jason's talent and threatened by his rising fame, had been manipulating both Zoe and the team. The mysterious deposits in his account revealed his betrayal. He'd been trying to control the game outcome. Zoe became his unwitting scapegoat. In the interrogation room, Zoe cried, laughed, and raged about Feng's ruthlessness. Nobody cared. Ultimately, Feng was intercepted at Yun City's border and, along with Zoe, charged with bribery and fraud, facing up to 10 years in prison. As for Zoe's claims of transmigration during the live broadcast, the official statement attributed them to mental instability. The truth remained with the police. And me? After Headwind's victory, Jason made sure to celebrate enthusiastically. "Wife, your husband's technique is amazing. Should I apply for a reward?" The moral of the story is: are you daddy's twin, or just confused? Calling yourself daddy at your big age is wild.